I hope we have our writing materials where we're going to make notes from the video. Okay. Okay, I think we're set now. Okay. All right. So we restart the video again. Yeah, here we go.
Principle 1. Enhance your love maps. Happy couples are familiar with each other's world. They have a love map of one another. They know all the details about their partner's life. They know each other's favourite TV show, what their current goals are, and what stresses them out. Without a love map, you can't really know your spouse, and if you don't really know someone, how can you truly love them? To enhance your love maps, find out what you don't know about your partner by asking questions. Here are some examples. Who are your partner's best friends? Who are the relatives your partner likes the least? What is your partner's basic life philosophy? And are you familiar with your partner's hopes and aspirations? It can be easy to lose sight of your love maps amongst the events in life that require your attention, such as work, family issues, and other things. But for a healthy relationship, it is essential that you know each other's love maps. Principle 2. Nurture your fondness and admiration. This is perhaps the most important principle of all, so pay attention. To nurture your fondness and admiration for each other is to have a positive view of each other. A couple can find out their current level of fondness and admiration by seeing how they view their past. If they view it in a positive light, then they are likely to have a bright future. If they view it in a negative light, then they are in trouble. To nurture your fondness and admiration, Gottman stresses that appreciation is essential. Write down 3 or more of your partner's positive characteristics along with an incident that illustrates each quality. Then read your list to each other. For example, if your partner did something as simple as doing the dishes instead of you, show your appreciation by thanking them for their kindness. The third principle is to turn toward each other instead of away. It's the little things that count. To be a happy couple, turn toward each other by showing you care. You can do this through small acts of giving your partner your full attention. Play a board game together, shop for groceries, or call each other during the day. These small acts are the basis of connection and passion. When stress and conflict comes in the way of happy couples, they will have more positivity in what Gottman calls their emotional bank accounts, which will help alleviate their conflicts. Principle 4. Let your partner influence you. Happy couples work as a team and consider each other's feelings and perspectives. They listen to each other and make decisions together by searching out common ground. Gottman identified that men are more likely than women to ignore their partner's perspective when tackling problems together. They exert too much power and must be open to being influenced by their partner's perspective if they are to improve their relationship. It's not always the men though, the same message applies to women as well. For example, if you want to spend $10,000 on a new car and your partner wants to spend it on a holiday, then take a deep breath and listen to each other. Show empathy, don't criticize, and really think about your partner's viewpoint. Principle 5. Solve your solvable problems. Gottman identifies 2 types of problems in relationships: solvable problems and perpetual problems. It can be hard to tell the difference, but one way to tell is that solvable problems seem less intense and gut-wrenching than perpetual ones. Solvable problems are situational and there's no underlying conflict. An example of a solvable problem is: Bill and Sally agree that it's Bill's job to take out the trash every evening after dinner. Lately he's been distracted from work obligations and so he forgets. Sally ends up taking it out herself, or the trash just sits there. In the morning the apartment smells horrible and so Sally is angry. This is a solvable problem. He's simply under a lot of stress at work, and it has nothing to do with the underlying relationship issues. One possible solution is to put a sign on the fridge door as a reminder to take out the trash. Problem solved. Here are 5 steps to solve a solvable problem. Number 1. Soften your startup. When bringing up an issue, be calm, kind, and don't criticize. Number 2. Make and receive repair attempts. When the argument is getting out of hand, let your partner know and suggest taking a break. 3. Soothe yourself and each other. On your break, go for a walk, listen to some music, read, or meditate. 4. Compromise. Share and consider each other's viewpoints to come up with a solution that works for both of you. 5. Be tolerant of each other's faults. If there are incidents in the past that come up in arguments, identify them, discuss them, and apologize where necessary. So what about perpetual problems? Well, here's an example of one. Susan wants to spend less time with Jim and more time with her friends. Jim says it makes him feel lonely. Susan says she needs time away from him. Jim seems needy to her and she's feeling suffocated by him. This is a perpetual problem. There is a core difference in their personalities and what they need from each other to feel connected. The difference is unlikely to change, so they will have to be willing to accept and adapt to it if they want their relationship to thrive. Principle 6. Overcome gridlock. Gridlock is the result of perpetual disagreements where both partners have entirely different beliefs, dreams, or personalities. Josie wants to have children, Harry doesn't. Ben wants Sally to go to church with him, but Sally is an atheist. Gottman claims these issues are unlikely to be solved, but you can learn to accept and adapt to your differences. Identify and respect each other's dreams and beliefs. You don't have to agree with them, but acknowledge, listen, and show respect to what your partner has to say. Come up with a temporary compromise and thank each other for sharing. The last principle is to create shared meaning. Shared meaning will enhance your marriage by bringing you together. Here are 2 ways you can create shared meaning. 1. Create rituals of connection. This could be anything that brings you together that you do on a regular basis, such as sharing a morning routine, celebrating Easter each year by going out as a family, or eating out together once a week. And number 2. Work towards a common goal, such as helping the community through volunteer work or building a houseboat. And now you don't have to go building a houseboat, but it can be any goal that you both agree on that involves both of you.
All right, welcome back. I want to believe that we are able to get all those principles from that short video. Now, we want to quickly discuss because these are tested principles which will help us a lot in our marriages and in our homes. All right. So in the comment section, if you watch the video from the beginning, can you type number 1 principle for me? Number 1 principle. Can you put that in the chat section quickly if you started from the beginning? I'm waiting. Number 1 principle. All of us should not tell me you're not listening. The very first principle that was mentioned is that you should enhance your love maps. Enhance your love maps. I just sent it to the chat section now. And this is talking about knowing about your spouse. How much do you think, or how far do you think that you know him or her? What are the favorite television shows, favorite colors, best food, uh, desires. How far do you know? Because a map will take you to anywhere you want to go. It offers direction in a very clear way. So a love map should give you a clear understanding of who your spouse is. And so the first thing to do when it comes to principles of making a marriage work is enhancing your love maps. To make sure that that map is functional and to make sure you know as much as you should about your spouse. You shouldn't draw a blank when it comes to your spouse. You should know him through and through, know her through and through. Do you know his shoe size? Do you know her bra size? If you find yourself in a store where you want to buy a bra for your wife, do you have to start calling to say, what's your size? Or you just be telling the store owner, it's big like this, it's small like this. No, you're supposed to have all those details, right? So enhance your love map. And you can do this by asking a lot of questions, lovingly asking questions, and finding out the preferences of your spouse. What kind of food does he like? What kind of food does she like? If I were to travel, what would be that gift that would please my spouse? What does my spouse want? All those things are extremely, extremely important. So love map is number one. Number two, does anybody have number two there? Number two says, nurture your fondness and admiration. Nurture your fondness and admiration. Nurture your fondness and admiration. How do you do this? You talk about your past, the things that makes your spouse to come alive, the interest he or she has, some of the dreams that your partner wrote down in his or her diary. You want to talk about all those things and in a very fond way to go over those things that excite your spouse and be interested in those things. And so that creates a platform for you to be able to discuss and even to be able to know more about your spouse. All right? So this is very, very important. You want to nurture your fondness and your admiration. Number three is to turn towards each other. Turn towards each other. What this means is that you want to focus on each other. All right? Don't let one of your besties take priority over your spouse. Turn towards, let me put that in the chat section. Turn towards each other. Give some focus to one another. Let the thoughts of your spouse be in your heart. Genuinely love your spouse. Genuinely pursue how to please him or her. Go out of your way. These are the things that make marriages work. John Gottman studied all these principles for many years before he concluded on these principles. Focusing on each other will help you to eliminate divorce, help you to eliminate emotional affairs, help you to eliminate unnecessary distractions, because in your mind, in your heart, there's no space for any other person. But when you are emotionally far apart, then you create space for another third party to fill in that space. So you want to focus on each other. You want to express your love every time. Beautiful. Number 4, let your partner influence you. I'm putting that in the chat section. Let your partner influence you. That's number 4. Influence is powerful. And one of the greatest power we can have our spouse is actually through influence. It's not in screaming or shouting or nagging. It's to exercise influence by being an example of that particular thing. For example, if you want your spouse to be caring, then you become caring, and your spouse will learn from that. If you want your spouse to always do something a certain way, then start doing it. As your partner observes it, then your partner will blend into it and will eventually do the same thing. Okay? Then we move to number 5 rather. Let me quickly put that. Solve your solvable problems. Solve your solvable problems. That's number 5. All right. So John Gottman explained that there are solvable problems and there are perpetual problems. All right. Solvable problems, give an example of, I need my spouse to throw away the trash, but he or she keeps forgetting. That's a solvable problem. You want to sit down and see how you help one another in, carrying out that particular task. But when it comes to a perpetual problem, it deals with problems that won't go for a long time. There are some habits that are not necessarily sinful, but they have been ingrained in our system. Okay? So you want to make sure that you identify the solvable problems and go after them. Then you identify the perpetual problem, things that are not likely to go away for a long time. And in dealing with the perpetual problem, it says, look, you want to be calm about it. Forcefulness about that problem will not solve it. You want to be calm. In fact, the Bible says, a soft answer turneth away wrath. All right? So perpetual problems are problems that are ingrained in our personalities and might not go away for a long time. Change about them comes really slowly. All right? Then, of course, the next thing is you want to overcome gridlock. Gridlocks happen because of this perpetual problem. Let me quickly put that here. Overcome gridlocks. So the gridlocks arises because of the perpetual problems. So you want to sit down together and see how you can lovingly address perpetual problems that won't go away as a result of your personalities. And then lastly, number 7, John Gottman spoke about this last, that you should create shared meaning. Create shared meaning. In other words, do beautiful things together. All right? Take holidays together, take vacation. with the purpose of connecting with one another. Creating shared meaning could be having a weekly date where you eat out and just lovingly talk to one another. All those things are very important and they keep the marriage going. I hope we've been able to keep track. Now I'm going to take questions quickly, and after the questions, we'll be calling it a day. If you want to ask a question, just raise your hand and I will ask you to be unmuted so that you can speak. Or if you want to just type out the questions, you can do that in the chat section. All right, let's go ahead and get some questions there. Okay, somebody's raising hand right there. Okay, now you can unmute yourself. Who is that person raising hand again? I can't see you again. Can you raise your hand again? I think that person left. Yes, to meet Topper Onoyemi. Thank you, thank you. You have a question? Okay, do you want to say your question? Can you, because of those on YouTube, can you raise your hand so I can unmute you? Okay, I'll ask you to be unmuted. Just unmute yourself. Go ahead. Okay, it's noisy there. Okay, put the question in the chat section. Let me listen to your question and respond. In the meantime, while she's typing that question, if you have any question, please raise your hands and I will ask you to be unmuted. Still waiting for a question. Okay, regarding the seventh principle, how can I inculcate this into my marriage? Okay, the first thing you want to do is to sit down and talk. Take those issues one by one. For example, you want to have an agreement of what day of the week should we have a date night, all right? So it could be a Friday, it could be a Saturday, as convenient for you. But on that day, you're going out and you're going to eat together and talk together. All right. So date night is an opportunity for renewal, for refreshing, and for you to reconnect back to your spouse. So that's a major way to inculcate that into your marriage. Other things you can do is I will never speak to my spouse angrily. I'll be patient. So those are the things you can do to bring that into your marriage. All right. Any more questions before we round up? If you have a question, you can speak. I think we are done. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. The video will be on YouTube in case you want to listen or watch again. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your service tomorrow and have a great worship time with God. God bless you. Have a wonderful night.